Folks, what's going on? HeirofCarthage here. Sorry I was absent at the end of last week and through the weekend. I had a busy finish to the work week, and then I had family coming in from Colorado. They were just staying here briefly while they're driving through, and but my recording area is the only other quote-unquote bedroom in the house, so they were there. Not exactly time that I want to be recording anyway, because I'm visiting with family. So anyway, thanks for being patient. I've got some good stuff for you here. I've got some more tournament matches from the Krumpin Kup. And let me just quickly say, if any of you are looking for the Grom or Eltharion campaign, they're going to be back soon. I've been busy, and I've been having some upload issues too, and those really long campaign episodes take a long time to upload with the upload speeds that I'm getting right now. So be patient, that stuff's coming. And I am working on some more historical Total War content, just behind on some stuff, but I'm getting there. Anyway, let's jump into this one. So this is actually a round one matchup between ODM Xiphos and Leonitus. And I really wanted to watch this one because I like watching Xiphos play. He's kind of a legendary Wood Elves player, but he's won some big tournaments in the Total War community before. And I just like watching him play. So I wanted to pull this one in, and I also thought that it was a good series of matches that you all would enjoy. And we're going to start off with this Britannia versus Empire matchup. You saw the armies on the load-in screen. I'm not going to cover them in great detail, but I'll slow this down just probably for only like literally 1 minute, and kind of give you a basic overview of the capabilities. Now, for Xiphos, he's got the Fey Enchantress. I'm going to pull up the info card here so you can see what she's rocking. She has right here the Favor of the Fey, which is going to improve melee attack of a nearby ally. She's got Earthblood. She's got Awakening of the Wood to slow units down. She does have the Mist of the Lady, which is going to be kind of like a Mortis Engine effect that drops some melee attack when she is in melee. And then she's got Life Bloom and the Blessing of the Lady. So that is going to be the Fey Enchantress. She does have a Paladin near here, which is imbuing the Guardian trait, which is going to be very useful. The Paladin is anti-large, has good armor, and will be helpful at taking down enemy lords or other things that are trying to fight the Fey Enchantress. Cheap infantry, pox bows, and then in the very back, Companion of Kienel, and there are several I think 2 Grail Knight units, and then a Royal Pegasus Knight. As for the Empire with Volkmar the Grim, Leonitus has Banishment, Soulfire, and Grand Battle Prayers, all the stuff that come along with Volkmar. Volkmar does flaming and magic damage, which will be good against Grail-type units or other units with physical resistance. We're going to have Sigmar's Sons, again, mostly cheap infantry. This is Empire versus Britannia. We don't expect this to be an infantry slog. There is a mortar and a cannon. They are supported by Empire Knights back here, and then the Empire Knights also have the help of some Demigryph Knights with halberds. There's 2 of them. And then we've got a Jade Wizard here, and the Jade Wizard has Regrowth and Earthblood. Remember, Regrowth will do a ton of healing and also restore the Vigor. Very early on in this fight, we're going to see the Fey Enchantress boldly charging out in her army on her unicorn here. And yeah, just right on in, which is kind of surprising. Actually, Volkmar should get the better of this type of an engagement because his magic damage will do good against the physical resistance being granted by both the Paladin and the Fey Enchantress, just her normal. So here comes the Demigryph Knights. It's almost like this was a bait, though, and the Companions of Kienel are trying to follow up on it along with the help of the Paladin. And so you can see the Demigryph Knights now falling back, the Peasant Mob doing what Peasant Mobs do, and absorbing a charge. Over here, some Battle Pilgrims are going to support the Companion of Kienel as Volkmar rolls in. There's going to be some healing done immediately here. And then out on this flank, we're just going to see peasants engaging the infantry, and then we've got the Grail Guardians and Pegasus Knights moving this way. The cannon has done some pretty severe damage to the Pegasus Knights, and don't forget we got the Silver Bullets back here, which are going to be very good against Grail Knight type units. The Companions of Kienel start getting shellacked early in this. The Peasant Bows moved a little too far forward as well, but here comes the Grail Knights and the Royal Pegasus Knights, and this fight is going to really start to turn against Volkmar pretty quick. So he drops a Banishment, and the action's just fast and furious here, but the Banishment doesn't do a ton of damage for Volkmar. It does a little bit on a cheap unit, and then just gets too far out of way. You can't drop it right on top of him, and so it just he wasn't able probably to get quite the positioning he wanted there. So anyway, we're going to see back here the Empire Knights have charged on through. They're after the Peasant Bows. This is a good idea. And then back here, a mounted yeoman unit that we didn't call out earlier did manage to get to the Great Cannon and hasn't yet been picked up by the Jade Wizard, and it's going to go for the Silver Bullets handgunners here. So really getting some value out of that mounted yeoman, but there are some Empire Knights headed that way. You can see over here, it has been a pretty grievous fight for both sides. The Companions of Kinel took a beating, the Demigryph Knights both took a beating, and over here there's another Empire Knight taking a beating, and there's the Grail Knights coming in. So I mean, it's been a pretty costly fight for both sides, and you can see that the power bar is still probably slightly in favor of the Empire, all things considered. I'm just kind of swinging around so you all get a good look at the battlefield here. Volkmar is definitely extended out on his own here. This could mean trouble. If he gets pinned in here and killed, the Empire is going to be in rough shape. But Volkmar is actually fairly survivable. It's one of his benefits. His magic attacks, though, will do quite a bit of damage against the Grail Knights, so I don't think he could just straight up defeat them. Interestingly enough, though, Britannia just pulls away from Volkmar somewhat here and doesn't just, blob up and kill him back there. There is artillery firing, so that may be a good idea. I mean, you certainly don't want to be getting popped by artillery while you're in a blob. So we'll see over here, the Grail Knights swung over, the Demigryph Knights are back, and there's some more Empire Knights. And we're going to see a fight here between the Grail Knights and the Demigryphs, but the Silver Bullets are right here supporting too. That could be pretty brutal against Britannia here. You can see that the Jade Wizard's going to swing into this fight too and try and help out. Sigmar's Sons are there, they won't break, and that's going to provide a lot of hit point sponging. It's really going to work in the favor of the Empire there. I'm going to zoom back in over here. Comes the Fae and another unit of Grail Knights. While Volkmar was being fought by the Paladin, Volkmar managed to shatter some peasant mob. He's being chased by the Paladin, not a fight that he's going to want to be in. And I think this is probably why we're seeing Britannia allocate their forces elsewhere, because Volkmar is being pursued, and quite effectively, just by the Paladin. Look at this over here. A rout. A very painful rout on the Companions of Kinel, the Royal Pegasus Knights, and a Grail Knight. So the Empire breaks them. You can see here the Silver Bullets shooting down what few Pegasus Knights remain. And this fight is very, very close. It's a brutal fight right now, though. The Empire is starting to gain some pretty significant advantages here, potentially. The cavalry contingent of Britannia is hurting bad. Here comes another Grand Soulfire bombardment here from... or Grand Shield of Face, whatever we call it. I think it's a Soulfire that he dropped there to the bombardment. So all the Britannian troops routing. The Empire still got a fair bit of infantry here, and this is going to hurt Britannia badly because there's really nothing to help tank some of these hit points during the fight between the bigger units like the cavalry. The cannon's still back here firing. The mortar is back here firing, and Xiphos is going to be finding himself with a challenging situation here to try and finish off all the key units for the Empire. You can see he's going after Volkmar. Volkmar's taking some pretty severe damage, but see how these spearmen get in here, and these spearmen are going to provide a lot of hit point cover for Volkmar and the Jade Wizard and all the other units in here, so it's going to make things challenging. And then, of course, the magic damage dealt by Volkmar bypasses the physical resistance of the Grail Knights, and then with that hit point sponging in there, he can be a lot more effective than if he was just on his own taking all the damage from those units. You can see that the Britannians here were pushing the Silver Bullets. They got fired on by the mortar. It's a good call by the mortar to try and clear these units up. See, those units are going to catch them. The Silver Bullets desperately trying to get out of this alive, and why wouldn't you? I mean, having a handgun late in a battle is just excruciating for your opponent. They are very, very damaging, especially these magic ones, for anything that has a physical resist. See, the Fey Enchantress decides to go for the Great Cannon quickly. She's going to be charged by the Jade Wizard. That would actually be an interesting fight. These two are fairly well matched. But yeah, I don't think the Enchantress intends to stick around and, fight a whole bunch of these single character duels here. Volkmar's out here trying to save some of these units. You can see some spearmen got in the way, and the Paladin's going to continue to pursue the Silver Bullets. And he is going to take a face full right here. That is going to hurt, and hurt bad. Look at that. That was one volley from a very depleted Silver Bullets, and it caused substantial damage to the Paladin. If he stays to fight Volkmar, then the Silver Bullets can try and reposition. There is a Men-at-Arms just barely hanging on to life here that's trying to get in there as well. This is a very close fight, but, I mean, I kind of agree with the power bar. I feel like the Empire has an advantage here, and this, yeah, that's going to cost Terrified. I forgot that Volkmar causes terror. Wow, what a tough break. The Paladin comes back, though, but he's about to get attacked in the back again. If this Paladin gets pushed out by Volkmar, that's a huge loss, because the Paladin's actually a pretty decent unit for damaging Volkmar if he had the proper support from the Fae. You can see the Fae heading this way, but it's too late. Paladin gets broken. And that might be the end of this one. I don't think Xiphos can find his way back from that. It's a pretty tough loss right there to have to endure at this point in the game, because Volkmar is going to be able to escort that paladin all the way off the battlefield. The Fae can't stop him from doing it, because if she gets out there, he'll beat her down. And you see the Jade Wizard just in a hot pursuit here. Let's see what happens. The mortars are still on their artillery pieces here and firing away. They've got 145 kills. Leonitus has played an excellent battle here. He's managed to keep his artillery alive this whole time. He's got his silver bullets that made it this far into the game, caused some critical damage to the paladin there right before Volkmar chased him off. They also got a few shots on Royal Pegasus Knights earlier. Speaking of, they came back but shattered before they could be involved in any combat. The Fae is going to finally get rid of the gunners, but that leaves Xiphos with only a few Grail Knights and some men-at-arms, and it's going to be a difficult situation here. The Grail Knights are looking to maybe go after Volkmar. This depleted, I don't know that they can cause substantial damage to him. Even if all these units just come out here and gang up on Volkmar, he's pretty tough. He's pretty much done with his healing, though. We're going to see the Grail Knights be the one to get the healing here from the Fae, and that makes sense. The mortar still has ammunition, and you can see it is damaging the men-at-arms who are trying to engage some of this infantry. They don't want it to get out here in this fight. Volkmar taking some damage, but you can see he's just going to try and avoid all this and get back to help, rather than be singled out and potentially killed here. See the favor of the Fae here, making these Grail Knights absolutely deadly. But with all the infantry support here, like I said, I just don't see this swinging any other way but in the favor of the Empire. So well fought by both players, but it really looks like Leonitus is going to carry this one. We'll see. I mean, you never know. Sometimes people pull off some crazy comebacks, but I just don't think these Grail Knights are going to have what it takes. And that bombardment is going to hurt a little too. They're down to 11 unit models. I just don't see enough here for Britannia. Interesting army from Leonitus. Interesting indeed. The mortar is going to be good against archers and the cheap infantry. And then, of course, and they don't cost a lot. And then cannons don't cost a ton, and they're really good against cavalry. Single entity models sometimes, too, if the player's not dodging. So both solid picks there. Cheap infantry of his own, including one annoying one, which is Sigmar's Sons, because Britannia doesn't have a lot of great answers to that from an infantry perspective. So that could be, an interesting one too. So a cool pick here from the Empire. Volkmar is an interesting pick indeed. Probably not the first one you would think of when going up against a potentially cavalry-heavy faction. Volkmar is, not necessarily always the play there, but he does bypass the physical resistance of some of the Bretonnian units that's fairly common, like Grail units. He is good against cheap infantry. He causes terror. He's got those bombardments and support spells. He can heal and stay alive. And then he had the support of the Demigryph Knights. And it worked out here. I kind of think that and again, I'm no competitive player, so I could be completely off here, but I feel like the pick of the Silver Bullets is fairly smart too. Somewhat challenging because you have Bretonnian archers that could get in the way, but since he had a mortar to help arrange that type of stuff, plus he had quite a bit of cavalry support here, Demigryph Knights with halberds are a very stiff matchup for Grail Knights. It kind of just depends on the magic and support and other stuff like that, on how that fight will swing. And then Empire Knights are obviously a pretty big challenge for Britannia, unless they have at least a Knights of the Realm of their own to try and stop it. Otherwise, Empire Knights are going to be superior to, say, like a Knights Errant, or the cheaper cavalry, and then they, of course, smash through cheap Bretonnian infantry and archers. So, cool pick by Leonitus. Interesting to see this Volkmar build be pulled off. So, Xiphos is going to lose here. Remember, this is a best of 3, though. This was only the first match, so I'll be uploading the other 2 as well so we can see the rest of this series. As I expect, it's going to be a fun one, especially from this crazy start right here. Pretty close battle, and a well-fought victory there by Leonitus. Obviously well played by Xiphos, too. He wasn't able to pull it off. A few things didn't go probably exactly the way he wanted here, but we'll see what happens in Game 2. I will see you there. HeirofCarthage signing out.